Hello, Tiger fans. Thanks for joining us for a new week of Tiger Time out here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you in the studios as we take a look around Tiger and Lady Tiger basketball, of course, starting with LTB, the third-ranked team in the country. It's been a busy week for Ginger High Colvin and company. A couple of victories back in Mid-South Conference play. We'll start there, Coach, in the Powell Center. Cumberland's comes to town. Coach Reeves' team has done a really good job. Those young players progressing. Then a road trip to Georgetown. All in all, that's about as tough of a weekend as a team can have, and you guys passed with flying colors.
Well, that's why I told my kids at the beginning of the week, it's like a national tournament week, because both of those teams will, unless something horrible happens, will be in the national tournament, and you play in a two Thursday-Saturday game, and it's just like that. So it was a huge week emotionally for us. Anytime you go out and play those conference games, you have to get amped up. You have to be ready to go. It's just, there's not an easy weekend in our league.
You're in a portion's a busy schedule, so you've got that Thursday coming off of another Mid-South Conference weekend. Prior to that with Bethel and Freed Hardeman, you get right back in it with Cumberland's there. And you guys got out of the gates really fast. I know against Bethel a few weekends ago, you shot it really well. You picked up where you left off in the Powell Center against Cumberland's. You looked at halftime, and we talked about this post-game. I'm not sure anybody expected a 25 or 30-point win. Those are hard to come by in the Mid-South Conference, so when you get one, it's almost like bonus points or something.
It is. You never know what to expect in the conference, and if you're shooting the ball well, that's great, but if you have to be prepared for when you're not shooting the ball well, and that's the thing that we talk about the most. We were able to get buckets, and then obviously we're trying to play good defense and go out, but it was a grind for sure. But it was a really good start for us to get rolling in the league.
An interesting weekend for Kayla Luby. She had a double-double against Cumberland's, played extremely well. I think 19 points and 12 rebounds in that win. Flipped the script on Saturday, and this is just life sometimes. You talked about it in the postgame again against Georgetown. The matchups were a little tougher, a little more athletic down low, long, and different things, and it made it difficult. But Kayla's a perfect teammate, not one to sulk about that, but you can see how each game it's somebody else. It can be somebody new's night, and it was her on Thursday against Cumberland.
And Kayla's the one she's trying to learn what we do, because everybody else has been there and done that we're putting on the floor. So she's trying to learn that system. And Georgetown, they're no stranger to what we do defensively. So they've got different attacks, and they do a really good job against it. And Kate was playing a really good game. So it was one of those things that like you said, Kayla came off a great game. Kind of got on her heels against Georgetown, and Kate, man, it's hard.
You had to go two different things.
Kate was playing well. I couldn't be an announcer, right? So, but like you said, she bounced back and played great at Asbury, and that just shows who she is. She was thrilled to death after the Georgetown game. Great teammate. And she's just going to keep getting better as the year goes on.
Let's take a look at the numbers from the matchup with Georgetown. It was, a big win over Cumberland's at home. Georgetown, perhaps the toughest test to this point in the season. A 7-point victory, 71-64. Caitlin Wilkes led the way, as Coach mentioned there. She played terrific basketball, 21 points, 7 rebounds. Lauren Lee had 14 points, 3 boards, and Maddie Boyle, 13 points for the Lady Tigers. And Coach, that Georgetown matchup, it's always a tough environment at the Davis Reed Alumni Gymnasium, and you and Coach Jeff Nickel are certainly no strangers to one another. You talked about how well they know. So even though he's at a new school, you can kind of draw back. You almost scout maybe Shawnee State at times whenever you're trying to figure out what he might want to do.
I feel like his Georgetown team this year is more of his system, how he's playing, and he's got some athletes. He told me he's got 3 kids that can touch the rim, and I believe it. They've gone through, and they're just there's not really a lot of size, overpowering size, but they're all big. They've got kids that shoot the ball, and they're just, I think they've been sick and have not had their full team in so far. I think they had everybody against us, but they're just going to be a problem for the rest of the season, I think.
And those are games that really prepare you moving forward. You got into some foul trouble with Bailey Pettigo and Elizabeth Bertram. You had to kind of play through that down the stretch and find a way to pull that. That was a tight game. Those last few minutes, you guys hit some free throws and were able to extend. And if it would have finished a 1 or 2 point game, I don't think anybody would have been surprised with the way it played out. Certainly a lot to take from that as well.
There is, and we hit some free throws, but we missed some free throws in that game as well, and that's disappointing for us, because we're typically a good free throw shooting team, and against a team like Georgetown, you can't go up to the line and not knock those down. But we were tested and on the road And I felt like that was a great test for us. And you know, you got kids like Courtney Pritchett, Lauren Lee. You know, you said Bailey and had fouled out, but I felt like Kate made big baskets, Courtney made big plays, and Lauren is just super steady for us.
And the 2 games for Caitlin Wilkes earned her a Mid-South Conference Player of the Week honor. Those are hard to come by in this league, Coach, but Caitlin finished averaging 20.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 62.5% from the floor. And I'll tell you, just watching her right now, when the ball leaves her fingertips, I expect that it's going in. Missing it is not really an option. She's down around 5-6 feet, and it's a quick move. It's up, it's on the rim, and 9 out of 10 times it's going through. And
she's putting pressure on me. You know, as a coach, you want to be able to keep getting the ball to her in those situations, keep getting the ball to Courtney Pritchett. And yeah, she's playing great basketball. She worked herself silly this summer, got in great shape, and she's as confident as I've seen her since she's been with us, and deservedly so. She's playing well.
The Lady Tigers on the road last night at Asbury and Wilmore. We'll step away, come back, and recap that game here with the head coach on Tiger Timeout. Stay with us.
As a dad, every day is a challenge. To make sure that the time that I have, I spend with them. It doesn't matter how tired you are, you have to try and to teach them. When they learn something new, and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
Tiger Timeout continues here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we take a look at Lady Tiger basketball. Their week ahead in the rearview mirror, Asbury. Campbellsville goes on the road to Wilmore, Kentucky, and picks up a big win. And Coach Ginger High Colvin joins me. Coach, that's an Asbury team that's transitioning from NAIA to NCAA Division III, a member of the NCCAA at the moment. That's kind of the only thing they're playing for is that level. They're not postseason eligible in terms of Division III, but Coach Mays does a really good job. He, kind of like you, really recruits this area heavily. Lincoln County and Anderson County were well represented last night. Does a terrific job. You guys were able to jump out early. They kind of drew close around that 15-point mark or so, and you guys went on a sprint there in the second quarter. You outdid Asbury by 20 and ran away with it.
He and I talked after the game, and I feel like they missed some open shots early that they normally would knock down, and then that allowed us just to pull away a little bit. Like you said, they kept it close, and they're a lot like us. They'll sit back in a zone, do some different things. They shoot the ball extremely well. They get up and down the floor, and they play so hard for him. And he's got a good group of kids that you recognize from the recruiting trail, and just does an outstanding job with them.
Campbellsville pulls out the win, 96-59. The final score in Wilmore is the Lady Tigers now 3-0 all-time against Asbury. Caitlin Wilkes and Kayla Luby again having big performances down inside. They put up 34 points in total in fairly limited minutes, and Maddie Boyle with 12 points. And Coach, we were talking a bit off camera how well Maddie Boyle is playing, and that's a game she's playing against a couple of old high school teammates, some familiar faces for her. Jacqueline Rubel, I think they played AAU together. So it's a big spot kind of, and you certainly want to play well in that spot. She hit a couple of jumpers to start the basketball game for you guys to get things rolling.
Maddie shoots the three well, but her strength is her mid-range game, and she's really settling in and finding that mid-range game. And then when she's covered, one of her skills, really good skill set, is that she can pass the ball extremely well. And it's just fun to watch her right now because I feel like she's comfortable. I feel like she's settled. She's making the right decisions, and she's playing really hard on the defensive end, and she's fun to watch right now. She's one of the most important factors on our team right now.
Last night, you guys rebounded the basketball really well, and when we've talked about Wilkes and Luby, but Sarah Sutton got in there. She had 7 boards last night. It seemed like, I don't know if that was a point of emphasis or just the way it worked out, but you guys certainly were good rebounding.
Well, and film doesn't lie, so when you go back and we watched our Georgetown film, we gave up a lot on the boards, and we were in position, but we didn't box out. And our kids are smart kids, so I think they saw that if we're going to be better, we have to rebound the ball better, and they boxed out and did better. Sarah's always been a good rebounder, was a great rebounder in high school, and it's nice to see her get in there and mix it up. And so, yeah, we need those things. Maddie Nally's got length. She can get in there and get boards for us, and but it's something that we have to continue to get better at if we're going to compete at a high level.
And this week was supposed to be Pikeville tomorrow in Pikeville, Kentucky. Instead, you guys have to switch that. I know the Bears had a trip to Florida that they were going to take, so you moved some things around. So that'll come later in the year in February, but maybe it comes at the right time. You get a little extra time to prepare for your final Mid-South Conference game of the semester in Shawnee State on Saturday.
And it is, and it's a Shawnee State team that's playing extremely well right now. The only bad thing about the Pikeville game is we end up playing them late in the season twice in like a 2-week span, and that's not a team you want to play twice in 2 weeks. But it has worked out for us. Finals was last week. We had some off the court stuff with some kids and family issues, and it's just been a mentally draining thing as much as anything. So to have we gave the girls the day off, and to have that off is I think a boost for us physically and mentally. You know, I think this time of the year the kids can go in and physically compete just about with anything, but I don't think we really realize at times how much of a mental break they need. And hopefully they can get that today. You
know, on the flip side of the coin, we talked about Jeff Nickel moving to Georgetown. Dwayne Burrows replaces him at Shawnee State. And any coach, it takes a little while to put your fingerprint on your program and different things. And it was a bit of a struggle for them last year, but we talked about it. This matchup, you look ahead, you guys with that 10-0 record, Shawnee State 4-9. The interesting thing there, they've already played 13 games, but 4-9 on the year. And you mentioned it, that's one of the better 4-9 teams you're going to see across the NAIA, Coach, and certainly a matchup that you guys have to be prepared for come Saturday.
Yeah, it's a scary 4-9 team for sure. Holland and Elsie are the two kids that they work around. They're shooting it well, they penetrate well, and they're very athletic. So it's a team that we will be prepared for come Saturday, because it's definitely, you look at that 4-9, and if you do, you're going to be kind of silly. You have to look at the whole of what they have right now and be ready for that.
And one thing I want to touch on, we talked about this post-game last week, but I do want to mention Courtney Pritchett graduated last weekend, and I know that's a cool moment for her and her family, a lot of hard work that pays off. So I just want to make sure we give that, due time, and we congratulate Courtney. It's been, a difficult semester for her.
It has been, and I refuse to look at the picture in the cap and gown. I'm not, as long as she keeps coming back, that's okay. But yeah, man, she's completed her student teaching this semester, and that is hard to get up and go every day and then practice and have games, and she's just handled it like a champ. And to see these kids go through and graduate is a blessing, because they're such good kids, and we're so proud of Courtney. And man, we're so fortunate that she's here. So fortunate that she chose us, and she's a good one.
She's going to get to the 1,000-point mark this season as well with Courtney Pritchett, as long as she can stay healthy. So it'll be a big season for Courtney Pritchett and the Lady Tigers. We'll step away here, and we'll let Coach Ginger High Colvin out of the hot seat. We'll come back and welcome in the head coach of the Tigers, Brent Vernon. Stay with us on Tiger Timeout.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Tiger Timeout continues here on the CU Sports Network. Matt Payton with you in the studio now as we transition over to men's basketball. The Tigers back in action this coming week. They'll take to the road to Pikeville. They'll welcome Shawnee State at the Powell Center. Before we look ahead, we'll recap with Brent Vernon. The Tigers in a couple of hard-fought losses last weekend. Campbellsville takes on Cumberland's last Thursday in the Powell. That seems like eons ago now, Coach. But a 2-point lost there, had a shot, had a look at the buzzer, just couldn't get the bounce you needed. You go to Georgetown, and you know that's a perennial power, always going to be tough up there. You guys had a double-digit lead at one point, feeling pretty good about yourselves. You're right there. I've joked with you a few times, if it weren't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. And man, you just need something good to happen.
We do. I mean, and I give our guys credit, man. They're really battling hard, and it's one of those things now. It's a tough one because it's almost become a mental hurdle. You know, we talked a lot this whole week of, you know, you got to leave the past in the past. You've got to be able to not panic whenever something may not go our way, because you take away that first weekend of conference play, and even that Saturday, the first weekend against Cumberland, we were good for a long period of time, but we've played 5 games since then. We've had a chance in every game. You know, we got the Lindsay game, but since then we've had 4 more and had a chance and had a lead late in every game. So we are right where we need to be, and you look at the records of those teams. You know, Freed Hardman, who we let slip away, is undefeated right now in conference. Georgetown's lost once, Cumberland once or twice. So it's not like we're not competing with some of the best teams in our league, and we're right there. But it's now time to worry about winning today. Can't live in the past. It's the present, and we got to not panic whenever things start slipping just a little bit in that second half. And we've done that a little bit.
When you count that West Virginia Tech game, it's 5 losses by a total of 20 points. I mean, you start to do the math on there. You're 1 or 2 plays in a ball game, and instead of, you know, the record where it is, you have double-figure wins already. And you start to pick apart the film, and you concentrate on the result. The result is important, but now you got to find those little positives when you're going through film or practice. I know so often you talk about focusing on you guys, focusing on the Tigers. What are you looking for, and what are you seeing when you watch the film the last few weeks?
Well, you know, it goes back to even some previous years. You know, we've struggled a little bit on the rebounding, and I thought we've done a much better job. Some of the teams we've played, their biggest strengths are rebounding, and you know, I think we've been plus a lot of the times, and we're making a lot more of a conscious effort of that. You know, when it comes down to it, and it gets in that late game situation, we've just struggled finding ways to score, and that's, you know, really what we're really concentrating on to make sure we're getting the best look. I thought in the late game situation of Georgetown, you know, obviously we missed some free throws, but our offensive possessions, we got a little quick, and that again goes back to the panic of we can't let them get another possession. We can't go without this possession without scoring, and it can't be viewed like that. We just have to make sure we're getting the best look possible and hope for the best results. So a lot of things we're doing are right, and it's now just worrying about finishing.
The Tigers dropped the 2-point game there to Cumberland's Jordan Graham. Had a look out of the corner, wouldn't go down for him. They turned the page, head to Georgetown there on Saturday. As we take a look at some of the numbers from that the matchup with Georgetown College, Campbellsville loses 12 points, ended up being the margin, and the Tigers were fouling late, trying to give themselves every opportunity to get back in that. It was more like maybe a 6-point game. Alakai D'Souza finishes with 15. He was feeling pretty bad. A double-double for Malik Muhammad, 11 and 13. Jace Wallace had 9 and 9. And Coach, that game was so interesting, and we talked briefly about this. You guys got down 11-1. You missed your first 10 shots. Now, when things are going bad for a team, that is on the road at number 9. That is prime spot to lay down, accept the loss. Lo and behold, you go into the locker room with a 9-point lead. They did anything but that. They grinded. You mentioned the late game scenarios, but there's no quitting this bunch.
No, there's not. And they, you know, it's tough as a coach to sit in front or talk after the game when you're as close as we are. But we were getting the shots we wanted early in the game. We were getting to the rim. We were getting good looks. We weren't finishing. Georgetown was, you know, like you said, 11-1. And then you blink, and all of a sudden we're up by 4 or 5, and we had really turned the corner. We continued to get those looks, but we started finishing. And what happened is whenever we were missing shots early in the game at the rim, it led to Georgetown playing what they want to do and play quick in transition. Whenever they're having to get the ball in the net, we're getting our defensive set, and our defense was doing a really nice job in limiting them to 1 shot. So, again, our guys aren't going to quit. They're going to fight. They know they're close. they're talking and encouraging the right way, which is good because you don't see any separation. And again, like you said, we just need something positive to happen.
And, it may be as simple. You talk about the free throws as, you guys struggled at the line, but really that game may have been as simple as Georgetown. Just Jaquay Wales and Drew Lamont hit a couple of threes at the right time in big possessions, and sometimes the game can boil down to just that, one or two shots here or there in a big spot, and that really allowed them to kind of get a little separation that forced you guys in that trail mode as you spoke about.
Yeah, it did, and it was one of those. They made their free throws, we didn't. 2-point game, we're at the line shooting 2, we're ahead. We missed 2 free throws, and they come down and Lamont makes a 3, get back to the line and miss 2 more. And it's guys that I'm confident in shooting who have had very good success. It's just one of those things now that it seems like late games, if it's early games, we're making free throws a lot. If it's late games, it's the mental part of it. It's something that we practice every single day. This week we've gone and done even more practice and changed up when we're shooting and how we're shooting, just to try to do something a little different and get the mind shifting a little bit. Don't know if it'll help, but sometimes just changing a little bit will help a little bit. So we're working on it. We're trying to improve on it, and hopefully we'll be ready to get that opportunity on Thursday.
The Tigers in action tomorrow night at Pikeville, Kentucky. That game is moving up. It's a 6 p.m. start time for the Tigers. The Lady Tiger game has been pushed back to February, so 6 p.m. tomorrow in the Expo Center in Pikeville. I'll be along for the call. You can join us for that one. We'll step away, come back, and talk about the matchup with the Bears on Thursday and again on Saturday as Shawnee State comes to the Powell Athletic Center. Stay with us here on Tiger Timeout.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Tiger Timeout, one final segment here this week. Matt Payton with you as we visit with Brent Vernon about the upcoming matchups with Pikeville tomorrow evening in the Expo Center in Pikeville, Kentucky, and then Saturday Shawnee State comes to the Powell Athletic Center. Coach, this outside of tournament play, once you get down the road or anything unforeseen, your last time kind of starting a ball game. Everything else will be following a Lady Tiger and a doubleheader. So this is your final opportunity. All that. It's just a different setup. You get plenty of time to shoot. You get plenty of time in the gym. You take it all in, all that stuff. So no distractions, I guess, at times. But then again, it's maybe not normal as what you've been accustomed to. How do you, how you guys focus in on this Pikeville matchup?
It's definitely different. I think it's a nice opportunity. Not that we don't like the doubleheaders, but to get there, especially playing in the Expo with a little bigger background, to get some shots up early. We'll get there 2 hours before the game. Let them walk around and get going, and then an hour before we'll get out there and really get stretched and get some shots up with. It's just nice because sometimes that 20 minutes is a little bit rushed for the guys and a little extra time to get loose. And for us, we need as much time as we can to hopefully see some shots go in right now.
And, another thing, halftime you're usually out there shooting, but you may have 5 minutes, you may have 12 minutes. I mean, you never know what that's going to look like. And then if the women's games go long or a lot of fouls, I mean, that time, to me, at times seems it's almost, it could go either way as to whether it helps or hurts.
It does. We're lucky, obviously, with our women's team. A lot of other teams are in that locker room a little longer trying to make adjustments and figure some stuff out. So we normally get a pretty good warm-up where our team, Coach Colvin, they get that lead and they talk for 2 or 3 minutes and they're already back on the floor. Right. I think some of our opponents probably feel cheated. But after the game, the biggest thing is, it's the anticipation. We want the women to win. The one thing you really don't want is overtime because then it's sort of resetting as your guys are getting ready a little bit from the mental standpoint. But now it's just us worrying about us and everything. So it'll be a nice little change. But we really enjoy playing after the women, to be able to watch them, just watching them play as a team is so fun for our guys, and the support from both sides is really good. So it'll be a little different, but a good change.
Tomorrow, you and Coach Compton and the league agreed to move this thing up 6 o'clock, the start time, since there is no women's game. You and the Bears meeting once again, old rivals. Your last trip maybe to the Pikeville area as they'll leave the league. Both of you guys in the hunt, needing wins. You look at some of the numbers, Coach, very similar in a lot of aspects. Points per game and field goal percentage, rebounds per game, a lot of close categories there in Mid-South Conference play. This is a big one for each of you, and I know it's one you certainly want to go down on the road and get.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those that, again, as we talked about, we have to live in the present. We have to win the day. We need to get one or two as we finish out this semester and go home with a little positivity to come back for. Again, our guys, I give them so much credit as hard as they're working day in and day out. There's no quit, there's no throwing in the towel, and there's still a lot of basketball left, and that's what we've been preaching. You know, it hasn't gone our way, but it's still in our control to change this thing, and it starts tomorrow.
The Bears a little different, some different pieces for Coach Compton. So as you've watched film and different things moving in to Shawnee State, you kind of two different sides of the coin a little bit. Pikeville much different. Shawnee has a lot of the same pieces, but they're using them different. You see the numbers there with Shawnee State again, kind of similar in a lot of regards. Two interesting games to prepare for, especially the way Shawnee State, they're such a physical team.
Totally different. You know, Pikeville's got a lot of new guys. They do have a couple guys returning that we're familiar with, but a lot of new guys that they're counting on. Shawnee is about half and half. They return a good core of guys, and they brought in a good group of guards. So what Pikeville's strength is definitely not what Shawnee's strength is, and it's something that you really got to make sure you do well on for adjusting. Saturday's going to be huge for us. It's just easy to know when you play Shawnee, you got to be ready to rebound. They're going after it on the glass. Pikeville, you got to be able to slow down Corbin Spencer and Teddy Parham. If you can do that, you give yourself a chance to make them inefficient. If you don't and let them get their points efficiently, it'll be a long night for us. And we've done a good job so far early on in the year of taking away, I think, some of our opponent's top scorers, and it's going to be our same type of game plan going into tomorrow.
Coach, best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
The Tigers in action 6 p.m. in the Expo Center tomorrow evening in Pikeville, Kentucky. I'll have the call for you beginning at 5:45. Saturday, the Tigers will close out their first semester action as they'll take on Shawnee State at 3 p.m. start for the Tigers. The Lady Tigers begin the doubleheader at 1 p.m. A special thank you to Coach Brent Vernon for joining us, as well as the head coach of Lady Tiger basketball, Ginger High Colvin, Matt Payton, saying we'll see you next time here on Tiger Timeout.